we start out with Tennessee making its trip to Hawaii to play in the Maui Invitational. As always, our thoughts and prayers are out with the folks in Maui and the wildfires as they recover out there. But this season, Maui is being held in Honolulu, and this field is absolutely stacked with some of the best teams in the country. If you're looking for good basketball, you definitely come to the right place. This is what the field looks like. On the bracket, you've got Tennessee taking on Syracuse in game one. You got Purdue taking on Gonzaga. Then on the other side of the bracket, you've got Kansas playing Chaminade, UCLA and Shaka Smart UCLA playing Shaka Smart and Marquette. Guys, there's the AP Top 25 isn't out for this week, but you know how many teams are in this field that are in the AP Top 25. Also, how many teams are in the top 20 in KenPom. Extremely stacked. What are you guys' thoughts on this field here in Maui, and how excited are you for this tournament? Connor, as always, we'll start with the guest.
I feel sorry for Chaminade, but at the same time, they just got a free trip to Hawaii, so I wouldn't complain too much if I were them. But they are probably the first out in that field there. And I mean, this is exciting ball. There's a lot of teams in this bracket that probably are some people's Final Four. So this is going to be a fun tournament to watch for sure. I don't trust Tennessee in it. I'll tell you that right now.
I know you don't trust Tennessee in it because you do not like Rick Barnes. So.
No, I mean, it's not March, so he might actually win this tournament, but yeah. So we'll see on that. Do you want me to go ahead and give my prediction on where I think Tennessee lands, or how do you want to do that?
Yeah, well, we're just going to move on here just a little bit. Just some general thoughts on the field and
gotcha. Yeah,
really stands out to you.
Yeah, no, I think the matchups are pretty good for round one. I like that for the most part. Purdue and Gonzaga is going to be closer than I think people are going to give Gonzaga credit for. And Kansas obviously going to do Kansas things. UCLA Marquette should be a fun one as well. UCLA is getting like slowly but surely like trickling in. All their international prospects are getting cleared. Hopefully Big Z gets cleared soon because that's what they're doing. So, Ade Mara is really good ball player, really fun to watch. He's going to be really fun next year in the league. But that should be a fun matchup against Marquette there, and Tyler Kolek and Shaka Smart for sure.
Absolutely. Connor, I'm going to give you a break on this next question and get you a sip of your beer there and get your voice back up. So I'll ask Maddie first. Maddie, who's your biggest sleeper in this field and why? And I swear, if you say the team that I see you have in your notes, I'm going to rip my hair out. But go ahead. What? Who's your sleeper, Maddie?
What? My sleeper is going to be Marquette, and I don't know why you're mad at me. Because as an average basketball fan, I feel like you look at this this and you just see ranked team on ranked team on ranked team. So automatically they're going to go, I don't want to say Chaminade. Chaminade's there.
They're not.
I've been more mad if I pick Chaminade.
I would have really questioned your belief system at that moment, but yeah, go ahead, explain Marquette.
So I'm going to go Marquette because everyone's going to obviously look at these high-ranked teams, say that they have, absolutely no chance of winning this. But the Eagles have had a solid start to the year against some decent high-ranking mid-majors and a win over ranked Illinois. So, I mean, I feel like the underdogs kind of in this are going to be Marquette and UCLA, but just because they don't have a current AP rank out beside their name.
Okay, I'll dig it. All right, Connor, who do you have as your team that's kind of the one that most people are probably sleeping on to win this field?
Most to sleep on, I'd say Gonzaga. I just think the way that they match up in this, because I do think that they could take down Purdue. I think Gonzaga has a more experienced backcourt there, and they're going to have to run into Kansas eventually at some point. But if you already took down Zach Edey, I think you could take down Hunter Dickinson. Getting past Tennessee is going to be a tough out for them, but I do think that Graham Ike is probably going to be the best big man in that matchup. And I do trust Nolan Hickman and Roose Bolton there to get it, receiver Bolton there to get it done. So I have Gonzaga as a sleeper, but Marquette was right there for me too. Because Kolek, like I said, really good. Cam Jones, really good.
I'm just flat out picking on Maddie. That is one of my favorite things to do throughout the week. If I can't get her mad. The Marquette pick is actually really solid. I do like that because I think also, and I think both your picks are right. What I was thinking, Connor, I believe with you, I was going Gonzaga because I don't think Gonzaga has the hype they normally have this year.
They don't.
Yeah, a lot of people when they look at this field are going, "Wow, it's kind of weird to think about," but Yeah, Gonzaga is not one of the obvious favorites in this tournament this season, so I'm with you there. So as far as who you guys think might be your favorite in this tournament, I have mine. But who do you guys think ultimately comes out of winning this? Win this? Excuse me, win this invitational, and then we'll look at it from Tennessee's perspective. Connor, we'll go ahead and start with you.
I like Purdue to win it outright. I know I just kind of like went against that, but I do think it's either one of those two teams will win it. Purdue, they have returned pretty much their entire roster from last season. They have the reigning national player of the year. I think he's the best big man in the nation, and that's going to carry a lot of weight in basketball games like this. So, I think what Purdue and Tennessee matched up. Or no, it was Arkansas. Who did Tennessee play in Michigan State? And that gave a lot in the exhibition. That gave a lot of juice to Tennessee fans, which, I would have been excited too. But then you saw Michigan State go to lose James Madison. So I don't trust this Tennessee team as much. Regular season, I think they'll be great. But again, come tournament time, we'll see what happens. This tournament, I do think that it would be a good matchup with Purdue, but Purdue ultimately edges out. And I think Zach Edey versus Hunter Dickinson would be electric to watch. And I do think that Zach Edey is the better big man overall. Hunter Dickinson does some things better, but Zach Edey is just the better big man.
Maddie, I'll let you go real quick because I know you're kind of thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I was going to say Connor took the words right out of my mouth. I've got Purdue here. I think we see an Edey versus Dickinson matchup. I think Edey wins the battle. After watching that Kentucky-Kansas highlights, Dickinson's not going to be able to bully his way around Edey the way that did some of those Kentucky players. So
yeah, he is a Canadian giant, and he's not afraid to push you around in the paint for sure. And I think Hunter Dickinson's going to get a little bit of taste of that if that should be the matchup. My favorite here though is Kansas. I personally I do like the way that Kansas is built. I think in that Kentucky game, if you're trying to go off the Kentucky game and the way that you look at Kansas right now, Kansas played Kentucky's game in that first half. In the second half, they started playing Kansas ball.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the difference. So don't take away on what was a really great game plan by John Calipari to speed that game up and play it with athleticism to the way of brand of basketball that Kansas is going to play. Kansas basketball was that second half. So I've got Kansas as my favorite to win this thing. They've also got the easier side of the bracket, in my opinion. So I'm like Kansas ultimately as the team. Just depends on that final matchup. If it's not Purdue's got a really good chance to win this. If it's someone else, we'll see. All right, so let's take a look at it from the Tennessee side. Guys, when you look at Syracuse in year one without Boeheim, what are your thoughts on this team? And does Tennessee get a W against the Orange? Real quick thoughts, Connor. What are you thinking?
Man, Syracuse almost just lost to Colgate by 24 points or something like that. They need an incredible comeback. I admittedly thought Syracuse would be better, not because of Red Autry, but because I like Judah Mintz and JJ Starling. Those two players are really good, but they're not good enough to make Syracuse good as a whole. So I think Tennessee's just more experienced. They're a better team. They're going to pick apart Syracuse and do whatever they want. So not too concerned about that matchup for the Volunteers.
Yeah, I do like Judah Mintz. I'm with you, but I don't think there's enough overall talent for Syracuse to upset the Vols in this one. And especially if the Vols can get Santiago Vescovi going at some point this season, that would also be an additional help their offense. Maddie, any thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, basically what you said, David. My thoughts here were going to be if the Vols are playing as well as they are, basically without Vescovi, and if he turns it on in this game, there's no chance for Syracuse to take a win here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so game two, we're looking at possibility even playing Purdue or Gonzaga. We've talked plenty about both these teams at this point. Which matchup do you guys like better for Tennessee? Do you like their matchup against Gonzaga, or do you like their matchup against Purdue? Connor, we'll start with you.
I'd say Gonzaga purely because they don't have to go up against Zach Edey, because that would it's going to be very tough for them. Dalton Connect can kind of do what he wants, so I'm not too worried about him scoring. But I will say I think Gonzaga's offense is, they're pretty freaking good. They're number 3 in adjusted efficiency, so that would be a good strength on strength matchup because I do think Tennessee's defense is their best aspect. So that would be a fun matchup, and I think that they can edge out Gonzaga's offense because again, it's early season. A lot of these stats are inflated. Gonzaga's played Eastern Oregon, who's a NAIA school, and Yale or something like that. So not a lot of tests going on against them there. So yeah, I think it should be Gonzaga there. But I mean, again, we don't know what this Gonzaga team can do. So we'll see.
Yeah, if it was Gonzaga, you're talking about a fun backcourt matchup between those two backcourts in the Tennessee. You were just talking about how much you liked Gonzaga's backcourt. So
yeah, Nembhard and Hickman are pretty freaking fun. And then Anton Watson, he's the Kentucky killer, so I have to give him respect there because he's done that a couple times to us now. But yeah,
gotta give respect where respect is due. Maddie,
absolutely.
Who do you think is the better matchup for the Volunteers?
I think if Gonzaga comes out with a win against Purdue, that's definitely going to be best case scenario there for Tennessee. Mainly just because I feel like Gonzaga's style of play is going to match up better with Tennessee. They're going to be able to defend it a lot better than they would up against Purdue.
Fair enough. All right. So like I have my own opinions on this. I'm going to make it chalk though on Gonzaga would be the better matchup for the Volunteers in this game. It's no offense to our Tennessee's front court, but I do not like the matchup of Adu versus Edey in this scenario. You have to beat him with athleticism at that point. I think Adu might be capable of that, but we've also heard Matt Painter talk about the intention and the learning curve that they got in that exhibition game with Arkansas about delivering the ball from the backcourt to the front court to Zach Edey and how much more deliberate they have to be in delivering that basketball. So I think that's something they've definitely focused on. So I would be leaning Gonzaga in a backcourt versus backcourt matchup there. All right. Then in game 3, who do you think Tennessee would be facing on the other side of the bracket? Now, obviously, that might reveal your prediction a little bit on where Tennessee plays, but where do you think so I'll go ahead and ask that question, actually. Where do you guys have Tennessee finishing up in Maui? Where do they finish this tournament at?
Oh, that's tough. Go ahead, Maddie. I got to think on it.
It's a tough field. It's a really tough field. Yeah.
I was gonna say, if they get that Gonzaga matchup, they could go all the way second place. If they get Purdue, I'm thinking maybe third or fourth.
Yeah, I'm asking also for your pick. This is your pick too. So this is what we're writing down for next week's episode on the records.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Tennessee probably finishing, fourth, maybe fifth. It just depends on like what Tennessee shows up. But I'd say probably fourth because I do think the field is just not in their favor, having to either face Purdue or then have to go and face Hunter Dickinson or Tyler Kolek or something like that. Like those are 3 top 10 players in the league right now. So that it's just not favorable for them. Even though Tennessee is a top like a top 25 defense, that's still really tough for them. So I say probably I'll just keep them on the winning side of the bracket, have them finishing fourth.
Fourth would be respectable in this field. Absolutely respectable. All right, Maddie, give me that position and then I'll give my thoughts.
I'm going to go fourth as well. Third was more of a ceiling kind of thing for me. No offense to Tennessee fans, but I'm thinking fourth here.
Okay, so when I fill up my bracket, I've got Tennessee facing Marquette in the third place game. So Marquette and Shaka Smart are obviously a really good team in the Big East this season. Cam Jones, absolute baller for the Eagles. He can shoot from 3. He can put up points in a hurry. He's from Memphis. I think this is also a game that if that was the potential matchup, showing out against your home state is always something that you want to do. But I've got Tennessee ultimately finishing this thing in third is what I've got. So we're going third, fourth is how we're rocking this one. That's going to be an incredible tournament in Maui. Obviously, the big focus of this episode